After a very long break of no Donkey Kong Country videos, the finale of ranking the top 10 hardest Donkey Kong Country levels is finally here. Or the second to last part. The top 10 hardest Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze levels. So, Tropical Freeze at the time was listed as a challenging game at some points, but for the most part, whenever I look online or talk to other people about this game, I hear and see a lot of people say that this game is one of the worst. I actually heavily disagree with that sentiment. Sure, this game is no cakewalk and it can easily open up a can of whoop-ass on you, but that doesn't mean it's unfair. Anyway, I thought it was time to serve this game some justice and rank the top 10 hardest Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze levels. You guys know the drill at this point. No Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, 3 returns, and no Dash K levels or secret levels. Basically, Dash K levels count as secret levels. And yes, I know, a lot of people are probably going to be in the comments like, this Dash K level isn't on the list, your list is wrong! I sympathize with you dearly. I've lived through the Nightmare Fuel, and I've also heard the Nightmare Fuel. Also, please keep in mind that this is indeed purely my opinion, and my opinion alone shouldn't affect your opinion. If you have a different opinion that you must desperately express, make your own video. Get your own creativity out there for the world to see. Just like what I'm doing. Anyway, let's dive in! Okay, I've never really been good at underwater levels, but that doesn't mean I necessarily hate them. I actually really enjoy the music, collecting bananas and other things scattered across the level, and I also really like the music when you're underwater. When you're not forced to spend an entire level under the water. You start on land, but man, you aren't on solid ground for very long. Soon enough, you're in the water, and you better get used to it because that's how it's going to be for the rest of the level. You gotta navigate this deep underwater cavern, and this shit gets tiring insanely fast. Sure, Tropical Freeze may have the best swimming controls in all of the main 5 games, but that doesn't mean they're perfect. Sometimes these controls felt insanely slippery, leading me to crash into urchins or the floating spikes. However, I would argue the most annoying part of this level was easily the segment where you have to time your swim dash and get through before the crushers get you. I lost quite a few lives to that purely because I was being careless and I wanted to get through this level as quickly as possible. Now, is this level purely a me problem? Yes, most likely, 100%. I've never seen anyone talk about this level, so I guess there's a first time for everything. Well, that sure didn't take long. We have the first minecart level on the list, and it will not be the last one. This level is one of those levels that I had trouble with a specific point, but then once I got past that point, I was all good to go. This level was the first instance of that, and it certainly wasn't the last. Sawmill Thrill is jam-packed with difficult maneuvers, unexpected jumps that you have to time just right or you're not gonna make it, and this level is overall pretty freaking chaotic for an early minecart level. Then again, it followed the original DKC's footsteps in the sense of introducing the level via sheer carnage. Sure, this isn't the hardest minecart level out there, but it sure is a bit tricky for an early level. Then there's the insanity of having to keep ahead of the giant rotating razor wheel of death that's behind DK while jumping on crates, over spikes, and over crates, and jumping from platform to platform that are pretty small, and I overall had a hard time balancing myself. So, if you're gonna try to get 100% on this level, you better react quickly or you're gonna be playing this level quite a few times, and before you know it, you might go through all your lives. The only reason Sawmill Thrill is higher than Deep Keep is because, unlike Deep Keep, I think I died 6 or 7 times on Sawmill Thrill, and on Deep Keep, I died I think like 2 times and then I got the hang of it. So yeah, not the hardest level on the list, but certainly didn't take any prisoners. World 5 is probably my favorite world in Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, but there is one level that I genuinely just didn't like. For all the love World 5's levels get, there is one level that I got slammed in quite a bit. 5-4 Panicky Paddles. This level is not only a platformer, but it's also partially underwater. Or under fruit juice. Whatever, we'll just say underwater. And you guys know me, I am not too good at underwater sections. This level sure was something. You gotta dodge these spiky fruits both on the ground and under the water. And if there's one thing I know for a fact about Tropical Freeze, is that this game makes swimming a bit hard. Like I mentioned in the Deep Keep section, the controls are slippery, especially if you just have Donkey Kong. Dodging these spiky fruits both in and out of water and navigating the water itself is a pain in the butt, especially if you're attempting to go for 100%. Like, no joke, that last barrel section before the end, I flew off so many times. Also, one of the details here is just mean. In order to get the G letter, you have to have Dixie Kong or Day Kong in order to get it. So, you have to get through almost the entire level without being hit once or twice, or you risk kamikazing with Donkey Kong and repeat the infuriating process of attempting to get the letter N once more before you get the G. That's just mean, man. I mean, sure, I've heard people have done it without Dixie and Diddy, which is just... how? Anyway, that one little detail definitely bumped it up onto the spot on the list. Now, this level on its own would not be too terrible to deal with if it weren't for the specific gimmick. But considering this level isn't just an underwater level, but it's also a silhouette level and a dark as heck environment, really threw me for a loop. As much as I think the silhouette levels are dope as heck and look absolutely stunning, mixing them with an underwater level gave me a headache, and this level was just a pure nightmare to deal with. There will occasionally be times where you get some light and can see a little bit, but for the large majority of this level, you're gonna be going in almost completely blind. Swimming, well, it's the best it's been in this series, as I've mentioned several times before, is still a challenge with the constant need to collect air bubbles to replenish DK's air meter. Not only that, but like I said many times before, swimming in general with just DK alone, or even with the buddies, is pretty hard, especially when you have to readjust. Thankfully, this level isn't the longest in the game, and you should be okay to get through it, but man, that didn't make anything easy for me at all. Thankfully, though, like I said before, it's not that long, so that's why it's not higher. If it was really long, though, it would have been way higher. And just like that, we're off to the rocket levels, and this sure ain't gonna be the last one you'll see on this list. Like I said back in my Donkey Kong Country Returns videos, the fact that the only way to control this rocket barrel is by pressing a button is wild to me, and it makes these levels pretty damn hard. It kind of figures that the rocket levels are pretty hard, and 6-4 Blurry Flurry is no exception. In all honesty, this reminded me a lot of Donkey Kong Country Returns 8-2 Hot Rocket, even though they're in opposite climates. Anyway, Blurry Flurry is absolutely no cakewalk. Not only do you have to dodge the normal obstacles, but also flying snowballs and shifting mountains, which honestly, yeah, these caught me really off guard when I first played the level. But that's not the part that got me. The part that boiled my blood was this snowball segment, which is amazing in concept and is executed insanely well. But for me personally, it was hard to pull this off. And overall in this level, there is so much crap to dodge. But after a few tries, it's easy to get the hang of it, and hence why it's not higher on the list. Also, for those of you who hated 4-5 Crowded Cabin in Donkey Kong Country Returns, looky who we got here! That's what you get, oh boy! You suck! level is one of the most infamous rocket levels in Tropical Freeze and possibly the entire series, and for good reason. Now, this level was close to being number 6, but I found Blurry Flurry to be a bit easier than this one. Buckle up for 5-2 Reckless Ride! This level is pretty damn chaotic. You gotta be dodging stuff left and right every 1.5 seconds. There is literally close to 0 breathing room in this level. Waving in between fruit, dodging the penguin loony who's constantly on your tail and will not leave you the heck alone. And goodness gracious, the chaos is never ending. And since the chaos almost never ends, that makes attempting to collect the Kong letters and puzzle pieces a complete nightmare on your first run, especially the G letter card. Overall though, it's chaotic, but it's also kind of fun. Dodging the fruits and Penguin Mayhem Slicer was actually an interesting challenge to take on, but it wasn't a cakewalk. I still struggle on this level to this day because of the amount of things packed into it. It's just quite a bit to keep track of. Now, I'm well aware that this level is more than likely a me problem than anything, so do with that as you will. Another silhouette level has made the list. Don't get me wrong, I have nothing against these kind of levels. These levels are amazing. They're absolutely breathtaking to look at and to experience, and I love them a lot. But man, some of them threw me for a loop. Cliffside Slide really got to me. The blizzard that you end up encountering a fourth of the way into the level gave me warlike flashbacks to Snow Barrel Blast from the original Donkey Kong Country. Now, before y'all get your torches and pitchforks, I want to make this very clear. Snow Barrel Blast is easily 10 times harder than Cliffside Slide. Not even gonna be a contest. But Cliffside Slide still packs a punch in a different way. First off, the beginning section is not bad at all, but then you get over the halfway point. Now that is where stuff starts to go down. The platforms start to fall away thanks to the fast-moving snow, and like Reckless Ride and Blurry Flurry beforehand, it gives you a little bit of room, but very little at all to breathe. You gotta keep moving. Not only that, but trying to grab the puzzle pieces and Kong letters makes this level a pain in the butt to deal with. But that's not the worst of it. The worst part is after you shoot out the second to last barrel, and then from there, this part kind of threw me off a little bit. Probably because I was attempting to rush up this thing like a loony. But yeah, Cliffside Slide. Not my favorite level to play, but definitely not a bad one either. This is one of the most nerve-wracking levels I've ever played in a Donkey Kong Country game. This level starts off deceptively easy, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, it gets really crazy. 4-4 Irate 8 starts off with the typical pains of an underwater level, and you also have to break through trains, dodge bombs and fish, remember to get some oxygen so that DK doesn't drown, and overall just trek or swim through the level. Then you hit the point in the level where Squidicus makes his return from Donkey Kong Country Returns and begins chasing DK. Now this is where junk starts to get real, because not only do you have to dodge Squidicus's tentacles, but also watch out for spiky urchin clusters tumbling down. What makes this even worse is that you also have to watch your oxygen meter. Not only that, if you're going for 100%, trying to find the puzzle pieces and Kong letters and make sure you don't miss them is gonna be quite a bit of a chore. And that's the first time you deal with Squidicus. Yup, you encounter him a second time. After some more swimming, you encounter this goober again, and he's really stepped up the ante from last time. Now, you have to not only watch the ink below you, he has bombs and more chaos. And the funny thing to me, this reminds me of one of the Donkey Kong Country 3 levels where you have to avoid a certain amount of screen. Yeah, you can't really stay too close to the bottom because the ink will get you. You can't stay too close to the top because good lord knows what is gonna come tumbling down. And you can't stay too close to the left or right because then the tentacles will come get you or one of the bombs will. So yeah, you gotta stay basically in the dead center and weave perfectly. Then at the end, you gotta time your barrel launch just right and drop 3 big bombs onto Squidicus. That level is just, well, it's jam-packed, just like all the other levels. And it's honestly really hard. That first Squidicus segment always catches me off guard and I'm never fully ready for it. Then again, there is no proper way to fully be ready for it, and that's what makes this level hard. It's actually one of the hardest mid-game levels out there in Donkey Kong Country. This level made me feel like I took the very little breathing room in 5-2 Reckless Ride for granted. If there was very little room in Reckless Ride or Blurry Flurry to breathe, then 6-7 Frozen Frenzy is a constant marathon with no breaks for you to stop and catch your breath because you might get a little bit shocked if you stop at the wrong time! Frozen Frenzy is a chaotic craziness that never stops. Heck, even the vines aren't safe to cling on to. I will say one thing that did get me was trying to time this nonsense. It reminded me so much of 7-6 Switcheroo from Donkey Kong Country Returns, which is not a fun level to be reminded of. This level is really tricky. It's one of those levels that require quite a bit of brain power to know when or when not to jump off the vine and onto the next platform, or onto the next platform onto the next. Not only that, this level has a bunch of crumble platforms and teeter-totters, which aren't too tedious unless you're going for 100% and you have only Donkey Kong. Man oh man. Then this level is just so treacherous. I felt like I was walking on ice the entire time. Probably because at some points I literally was. The worst part in my opinion is that in order to reach the secret exit in this level, you gotta use Cranky Kong and it's difficult to use Pogo Cane ability. That was just mean to me at least. Because I only used Cranky Kong like 4 times in the entirety of the game because he was really freaking hard to use. Overall, the tight timing, the brutal secret exit discovery method, and the occasionally undetectable crumble platforms because you're going too fast and you just want to get through this level can make this really hard. And I would recommend stocking up on lives before you take on this level. Holy flying banana peels! If you told me you wanted to try and 100% this level on the first freaking try, I would look at you and call you cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. This level is one of 5 levels in all of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze I didn't 100% on the first shot. This one being the hardest one in my opinion. 6-8 Meltdown Mayhem definitely lives up to its name and its reputation as a raid show. The thing that really got me with this level is that you have to do a large attack portion of this level with Rambi, whose controls in Tropical Freeze are a little bit rough. They aren't the greatest controls out there, but the controls aren't the biggest problem here. It's the timing. There are times in this level where it will literally make you stop and wait for a second, and then immediately start running like the hounds of hell are on your heels. There's a lot going on in this level, such as rolling out snowballs to create platforms, smashing through these blocks, watching out for crumble platforms, timing jumps perfectly to snatch puzzle pieces and Kong letters, and the very intense and scary cheese sequence near the end of the level that makes this level one of the hardest levels that isn't a secret level in the Donkey Kong Country series. At least to me. Not only that, but trying to do this level without Diddy or Dixie Kong is a complete pain and is close to impossible. Especially with the last running part really tripping me up even with Dixie Kong. I wasn't ready for a warlike flashback to the level Muncher Marathon. I really was not ready at all for that, and that's what made it hard. This level does a really good job of catching you almost completely off guard. The element of surprise, having to bash through these blocks, trying to 100% it, combined with all the hazards and Rambi's jump, really made it hard for me. I am fully aware that many people would love Bopopulous or Platform Problems to be here, but their secret levels hence eliminated from the list. But man, Meltdown Mayhem really made me grind my teeth because of the lack of patience I had. This level also gave me Bowser's Castle vibes, to be honest. Honestly, that's probably because I play way too much Mario. Anyway, it's an amazing final level, but it's definitely not at all easy, and it lives up to being a great final level. But again, why did it have to go this crazy? I'm laughing because it hurts. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If you made it this far, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any video ideas for what I should do in the future, be sure to let me know down below in the comments. I love to read y'all's suggestions and deliver content that y'all want to see. Also, huge thank you to my thumbnail artist, Lucas, for doing an amazing job with that thumbnail. And also, thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care, guys. Bye!